with Shashwat for a long time.
All the best, Sampada.
Thank you, sir.
Sampada is one of my best students. I remember her, and she
Oh,
is
thank you.
definitely. I love my all the students, and I always feel proud to say that Sampada is my student. Sampada, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So, hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about. We are going to discuss about indoor air pollution. In this presentation, we have included the concept of indoor air pollution, its effects on health, and a case study that Shashwat had conducted, pilot case study, our observations regarding it, and its relation with COVID-19. So let's start. Now, what exactly is air pollution? We all know this concept of air pollution. So in layman's language, we can say that air pollution is that kind of air that is not suitable for breathing. It contains a lot of pollutants, it contains toxic gases or chemicals. So that is not suitable for us for breathing. So that air is polluted. Now, this air pollution has two types. One is outdoor air pollution. Outdoor air pollution is that air pollution of the air that is there in the outside, on the roadside or in the open. That kind of air pollution is outdoor air pollution. And a lot of database and a lot of research has been done on this kind of air pollution. We have a lot of quantitative and qualitative analysis on this type or this source. But the second one is indoor air pollution. This concept is not very much known to people, and this is a bit new, or it is not much spoken about, and not much indigenous data is available with us right now. So we are going to focus main on indoor air pollution. So let's understand what exactly is indoor air pollution. Before that, let's understand what is indoor air. Basically, that air that is there inside any enclosed area is indoor air. And the quality of that air is indoor air quality. And if that quality is not suitable for breathing, then we say that that indoor air is polluted. This is the simple language that we can define indoor air pollution. So what exactly comprises under the indoor area? It is not just restricted to our houses, but it also includes offices, workplaces, institutions, malls, airports, temples, warehouses. All these things, basically those areas, they are enclosed within walls, or these are enclosed, may it be small or may it be big, but they are enclosed. Then whatever air is present inside, it is called as indoor air. And these areas are called indoor areas. So let's see what are the major sources of indoor air pollution. Basically, the photo here is of a house, but many aspects can be applied to other indoor areas too. So first is particulate matter 2.5 to be more precise. This is very common, especially in a country like India. Particulate matter is very common and it is seen everywhere. So major sources of particulate matter 2.5 in our day-to-day activities is burning of dhoop or agarbattis or mosquito coils. These are one of the major sources. Then there is a garbage burning near my house, next to my house. Then the air, the polluted air that is generated from the garbage, it enters through the windows or through the doors into my house. Then that my indoor air also gets polluted. So this is also one of the sources of indoor air pollution, or especially dust particles, that is particulate matter 2.5, and also carbon content. Then comes cooking fumes or burning of chulhas or burning of kerosene, all these things. They also generate carbon monoxide and particulate matter, and also vapors, water vapors also they generate. So they are also one of the sources. Then comes volatile organic compounds. These are basically emitted from synthetic room fresheners or synthetic fragrant materials like room fresheners or deodorants or perfumes, or what we call as turpentine, what we apply to the furniture or the touch wood, and even the bug sprays that we use. All these emit volatile organic compounds. This is one of the pollutants. Then is carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide levels basically increase. One of the major reasons for increasing the carbon dioxide level is improper ventilation or closing or living in a very enclosed area with no ventilation. Then the carbon dioxide levels increase. Then comes molds. Molds are basically developed in high humidity places. And these are a home to pathogens, to bacteria, to odor. And these are also a major source of pollutants. If we inhale these, they air conditioning units. Now the major this task of air conditioning unit is cooling. And it is unable to ventilate, or it is unable to remove the pathogens or odor away from our house. It just circulates the air within that enclosed area. So if we rightly remember, government has also appealed to all of us to reduce the use of ACs and increase proper ventilation. This was one of the reasons, because ACs just air conditioning units just circulate the air within. So if I am in a place with an COVID infected person, the droplets of his infection may pass through me to me in those air conditioning units, because the air is getting circulated. So this is also one of the sources. There are many other sources of indoor air pollution, but we are going to mainly focus on particulate matter 2.5, carbon dioxide, and volatile organic compounds. Now, why is this so much important? Why are we speaking about indoor air pollution? Basically, because of its health impacts. In fact, I had read an article in the newspaper where it said that it was a Times of India newspaper, where it said that indoor air pollution is almost 10 times more harmful than that the health impacts that is caused by outdoor air pollution. So I guess this is one of the reasons that this topic has been included into our health ministry, that is Ayush Mantralaya, what we call. So now, what are the health impacts? The short-term impacts are coughing, throat infections, sneezing, dizziness, fatigue, all those things similar to outdoor air pollution. And the long-term impacts are heart diseases, respiratory diseases, and even cancer. These are similar to outdoor air pollution, but the intensity is much more. And if we remember, government had also asked the people having respiratory problems to be more careful as they are more prone to COVID infection. So pollution leads to respiratory diseases, and respiratory disease having person are more prone to COVID infections. So we have discussed the topic, we have discussed its concept, its ill effects. Now let's focus on what are the steps to improve the indoor air quality. So first is proper ventilation. Ventilation is very much important. Then comes availability of a doormat or a shoe stand at the entrance of the house. Most of our houses have it. The main reason is that we avoid the entry of pathogens or germs or dust particles or particulate matter enter into our house. So this is important. Then we have to use non-polluting mosquito repellents or room fresheners. This would decrease the levels of volatile organic compound levels. Then use of exhaust fans or in kitchens or toilets. These would basically, exhaust fan, it circulates the air from the outdoor and indoor. It circulates the air. So exhaust fan while cooking is very important, and also in toilets, because toilets are smaller in size and they are also enclosed. So exhaust fans are important. Then use of natural base dhoop or agarbattis, but in ventilated areas. These reduce the amount of volatile organic carbon levels. Then obviously no smoking, because smoking, we all know it is very much harmful. It generates nitrogen oxides, and it also generates particulate matter and carbon levels. Then regular cleaning with natural cleaners. Why natural cleaners? Is because our synthetic cleaners generate volatile organic compounds. And then we also have to use indoor plants. We all know plants are a boon to us, and indoor plants, basically what they do is they absorb carbon dioxide, they release oxygen, they purify the air, they also absorb volatile organic compounds. So indoor plants are also very important. And also we have to maintain healthy level of humidity to avoid the development of molds. We have a very well researched data from Dr. Salvi. He is the director of Chest Research Foundation, Pune. So in his research, he stated that burning of one mosquito coil is as equal to the generation of particulate matter 2.5 that is produced by 100 cigarettes. So that is the intensity. Like we all know, cigarette smoking is bad, and one mosquito coil is 100 times more harmful than that of the cigarette. So this is what indicates the intensity of why indoor air quality is important and why the indoor air pollution reduction is important. Now we come to the pilot case study. The concept and implementation was done by Shashwat, and it was funded by Cummins India Foundation. This pilot case study was conducted around 2 years back. And basically it started because before that Shashwat had participated in conference. There we were fortunate to understand and to get to know about this concept, about indoor air pollution concept, from Dr. Salvi himself. And later on, then Shashwat, especially our director, Mrs. Pradnya Thakur, she understood its importance, and then she developed this concept into a project. So the main project objective of this project was creating awareness about this topic, because this topic, as I said, is not much known, not much spoken about. We don't even know that our air is polluted. So creating awareness about this topic was our main focus. Then measuring the current indoor air quality status of our beneficiaries was the second objective. And the third one was to encourage the people to start using indoor air quality improvement steps. So these were our objectives. Then the implementation methods were, we chose a few households, the beneficiaries, in and around Cummins office, out of which few were urban middle class and few were urban slum, that is economically lower income class group. This we chose because the problems of both type of households are different. In urban slums, the house area is small, they are more crowded, they are less ventilated, and the houses are situated very much close to each other. So this was one part. Then we understood their existing indoor air quality practices in the form of a questionnaire. Then we monitored their indoor air quality with the help of a device that was given to us by Cummins. Two devices were given. One measured the particulate matter 2.5. One measured that one also measured carbon dioxide, and the other one measured volatile organic compounds. Then basically this main step was taking awareness generation workshops.
Sampada, yes, your slide was not moving. Yeah, please check.
Okay. So main awareness generation workshops were conducted for the beneficiaries. We also provided them with indoor plants, and we also gave them sources and information where will they get natural sources of cleaners and all those things. So this was our basic focus. And then after giving them some time to implement these indoor air quality steps, so awareness generation and all, after that we gave time to the beneficiaries to improve their indoor air quality, to implement these steps. And then we did a post indoor air quality check, and then we came to some observations. Basically, we received very less time as compared to the scope to conduct this project, but the observations that we found were very important. And now with COVID aspect, its importance has increased more. So these, as I said earlier, these were the three parameters that we selected. One is carbon dioxide, then is particulate matter 2.5, and volatile organic compounds. And these are their standards, like that is their range from good to alarming situation, alarming range. And this we have taken from the booklet that was provided to us by Cummins that came along with the device. So we took these as the standards to conduct our survey. Now, what were our exact observations? The first and foremost important observation that air pollution exists, indoor air pollution exists. This was our observation, because almost in all the houses, all the range, all the parameters, these parameters that we considered, the ranges were more than normal. So that observed that we are living in an indoor air polluted area. So that was the foremost observation that we did. Then the main observation was there is increase in particulate matter 2.5, increase in volatile organic compound levels when we use synthetic dhoop and agarbattis. And if that area is not properly ventilated, or if it is closed, the windows are closed, then the increase in particulate matter 2.5 even increases. Especially while cooking or using this dhoop or agarbattis or mosquito coils. And there is also increase in the carbon dioxide levels. So here we have a first-hand data that in an enclosed area, when cooking was going on and the kitchen was closed, the carbon dioxide levels shooted up to 1500 ppm, and the optimum level is around 600. And when we lit the dhoop and agarbattis in a closed area with improper ventilation, the PM 2.5 levels shooted up to 200 microgram per meter cube, and the optimum level is around 90. So this is the first-hand information that we received. Then also use of indoor plants. What we observed was the area near to the indoor plants, the carbon dioxide levels are much more lesser than that present in the other parts of the house. So this was what we observed. Then we all know that indoor air plants, they absorb carbon dioxide, they release oxygen, they also absorb toxic gases, few toxic gases, few volatile organic compounds, and they also purify the air. These were our important observations related to indoor air quality. Now coming to the actual observations, that is graphical observations, people would ask that do these indoor air quality improvement steps work? Yes, they definitely do, because the graphical analysis shows it. Basically, when it came to particulate matter 2.5 levels, the in urban middle class and even urban, the dust particles, the particulate matter 2.5 levels, we saw that there was almost 50% improvement in the number of households. Initially, their levels were high, and then it came around normal or below normal. That is good. So there was around 50% improvement. When it came to carbon dioxide levels, urban middle class showed around 50% improvement. So now we come to urban slum carbon dioxide levels. Here, in the morning, we saw that there is around 30% improvement, but in the evening, we saw that not much impact was seen. So when we thought upon it, we thought that a few possibilities may be that in the evening, what happens is due to the fear of mosquitoes, we keep our houses closed, we keep our windows closed. So that might be one of the reasons to increase the carbon dioxide. Then all the people who are out for work, they enter the house in the evening. So they are more crowded. And along with this, the areas are small and they are located near to each other. So these might be, we thought that these might be a few reasons for that the carbon dioxide levels have not much impacted on. Now, why have we actually included this in this whole webinar? What is the relation of indoor air quality, indoor air pollution with respect to COVID-19? So, and why are we so much emphasizing on particulate matter 2.5 and this, carbon dioxide levels? So basically, we all know that COVID transmits through droplets of sneezing or coughing or speaking of an infected person. And that is directly inhaled within the area of 1 meter. We all know that. But now researchers have also, there are many researches that are going on that state that COVID, the particulate matter 2.5 can be a carrier for COVID-19 virus transmission. And WHO has also not denied this possibility. They have also stated that crowded or polluted areas or the air having lot of pollutants, especially particulate matter 2.5, there the rate of COVID transmission may be higher, because that is what we can conclude is, so this 1 meter social distancing would no longer be applicable, because this virus can take the support of the carriers and then transmit much more higher distances, longer distances than 1 meter. So basically at crowded or enclosed places, this virus may become airborne if the indoor air quality is not maintained or if there are a lot of pollutants in it. And so the chances of COVID transmission or any virus transmissions increases, definitely it increases. And when it comes to urban slum and its challenges, few challenges that I have already mentioned are these places are crowded. These are situated next to each other. They have less ventilation. So all these factors, and considering all the knowledge and all the researches that are stating about COVID transmission, we can say that there are these urban slum areas are more prone to COVID transmission. So while concluding, I would just like to say that we wear a mask when we go outside. This is just to avoid the inhaling of the COVID virus. But if it so happens that COVID becomes airborne, so wearing a mask 24/7 into when I'm in the house, when I'm outside, it is not possible. It is not recommended. It is not healthy. So basically, wearing a mask is not the solution. So what we can do is we have to maintain the indoor air quality. We have to reduce the indoor air pollution, the pollutants that are there in the enclosed areas or our households. And this basic step is very important, what I feel. So with this, I conclude my session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sampada.
Yes.
A very informative session. The study is really good, but as it is a pilot study, we request people to take this forward so that more study can happen. These figures are very small figures, but if we can go for a little larger study, they can be used for generalization also. Coming to the next session, Shashwat has done various efforts with urban slum pockets as well as in urban SWM management. So let us go for the understanding what are the urban challenges in these areas. I request Dr. Nivedita Mohori to take over the session. Dr. Nivedita Mohori is a PhD in management and BSc in electronics and instrumentation. She has 20+ years of experience in corporate as well as in education, especially technical and soft skills. She is expert in HR related issues and does consultancy for HR processes and competency mapping. I request Nivedita to take over the session. Before going for the next session, I request all the participants to check that your mic is off because we are hearing many sounds in between. Yes, Nivedita, please.
Yeah, thank you, Aditi. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, globally, 50% of the population lives in urban area. COVID-19 created threat in the community across the world, impacting health as well as social structure. The global pandemic posed challenges.
Nivedita, sorry, you are not sharing your screen.
Just wait. I'm sharing the screen. Just wait. The global pandemic posed challenges in the urban areas with respect to poor infrastructure and service delivery system. Water, sanitation, hygiene, and solid waste management has become prerequisite to fight against current situation. Shashwat had already done some work in this regard, which I am going to present in front of you. Just start with what are the challenges in the urban area. So these are some urban challenges we have based on our study we able to gather. Urbanization lead to migration in the cities and increase in population, increase in some dweller, load in infrastructure, challenges for cleanliness especially in slum area, challenges of water supply and wastewater, challenges of solid waste management, challenges of sanitation and maintenance of community block at urban poor, social behavior like no spitting and no littering. Let us go to the case study. This is about Walkeshwar. It is D Ward Municipal Corporation. The total population was 68,000 plus. The population covered under this study is 1882 numbers household. Population covered under the various activities 117 number. We have also targeted women SHG and number of NGOs, that is 2 numbers. This graph shows which area we covered for this case study. This is the second part of the study, that is toilet mapping. You can see there are some some photos which are depicting toilet mapping. What we observe is toilet facilities are being less in number to serve the current resident. The residents resort to open defecation. Toilets present not maintained properly. Those are all in unhygienic condition, especially with respect to women. There is absence of electricity and unsafe to use in the night. This particular slide shows mapping of drainage system. Here, if you see, the green line are depicting storm drains, pink lines open drain, and blue lines drinking water. What was the observation? The drain lines are covered by tiles. The storm drain used as a regular drainage line. All drains show flow of water towards the sea and absence of municipal closed drain line. Next, we have done survey in that area at Walkeshwar. And the community feedback, which is shown on the screen, you can see waste collection status. 33% of the respondent, they use dustbin for the waste, but 30% of the respondents said it is collected through BMC or NGO worker. There is no segregation happening in this area. Then 56% of the respondent are not aware about the segregation. The reason being the segregation, the information about the segregation is not given to them. What are the key findings of our study? Littering in slum pocket, no segregation. Drainage choke up due to waste disposal in drains. Lack of cleanliness practices and attitude leads to very unhealthy condition in the community. Restricted use of toilet because of non-maintenance and no electricity. Demand and need from women for toilet maintenance and sanitation by vending machine with disposal system. Lack of monitoring system for sanitation and solid waste management. Demand of safety equipments by sanitation and SWM workers. There is no CBO, that is community-based organization, established in this pocket to take care of any hygienic situation that should be there in this pocket. Community is maintaining cleanliness on voluntary basis, so there is no regular checkup on that. Need for sanitation and solid waste management. Based on our study, these are some identified need in this area. Need of spreading awareness about segregation of waste, ability of separate bins for collection of dry waste and wet waste, need of more public toilet and CBO structure for maintenance, more frequency of waste collection and cleanliness in order to reduce problem of bad smell and spread over of mosquitoes, need of safety equipment which should be comfortable, environmental friendly and good quality for cleaning staff, proper resting and luggage keeping room for cleaning staff, training to sanitary worker for the efficient use of safety kit, need to establish CBO system which is for better waste management. Now, what are the initiatives based on the study which was taken by the Shashwat? The study is also encompasses school activities. Our main program which we concentrate on, that is green school activity. The second is capacity building for community for Walkeshwar, Mumbai and Kandivali, Mahabaleshwar. These are also places where we have done our study. And what are the capacity building we tried at Kandivali and Mahabaleshwar? That is no littering, no spitting, segregation of household, segregation of community. Through IEC training, in case of school, we have done best of waste activity school. In wall painting for no spitting at Pune with the help of Cummins India. Also, we have provided integrated solution for sanitation and solid waste management in line with circular economy, that is reuse of resource approach. Here we have provided water saving urinal and toilet block with ecological waste and water treatment and reuse. These are some glimpses of the activities which are carried out at our Kandivali project. Here awareness campaign run for the school. Training programs are done for the women empowerment. Waste segregation beans are provided by us, and at society level we distributed. You can see waste segregation is happening at household level. Total beneficiaries cover under the Kandivali projects were 13,000. Now, what are the activities which are carried out at Mahabaleshwar? Basically, no littering, no spitting campaign, which was very much applauded by the stakeholder. Mahabaleshwar being a hill station, it is always crowded during the tourist season. This program was supported by Environment Department of Government of Maharashtra. Shashwat provided help to the Council for policy of Swachh by consultative process with all stakeholders and capacity building of various stakeholders. You can see the photographs whereby we promoted, we advocated waste management system and segregation of waste through stakeholder meetings, street play, rally, school campaign, school bazaar, and OATH program is also carried out in the Mahabaleshwar. There was a carnival happen along with ABP Maza. ABP Maza joined in hand with Shashwat for carrying this carnival. Even panel discussion was happened in presence of ex-CM Mr. Fadnavis. The topic was solid waste management. The program title song was composed by Shankar Mahadevan, and various activities carnival was carried out in order to generate awareness about segregation of waste and solid waste management. These are some achievements. With this work, the Shashwat has get recognition by this different award. On 5th June 2017, Best NGO Award is awarded for Best Segregation from BMMC. Panel discussion was happened. Our founder, Miss Pradnya Thakur was present there. Most committed NGO Solid Waste Management by USB Forum, we got award in 2013. Even our paper was published in partner with Arizona University on the subject in line with circular economy. I think with this, we can very much say that there are ways and means to fight against the COVID-19. It is required to take a right step, right approach to combat current situation. Thanks for patience listening. Thank you. Aditi.
Thank you, Nivedita, for your elaborative description about the work done by Shashwat at these places. Though there are too many things we can do, but your presentation showed that there were many things we have already done, and there is always a scope. As Nivedita is working as project director with Shashwat, she knows well about all those things. Coming forward to know about the basic challenges at these places, let us listen from the authority who is actually working in this COVID-19 scenario at these places. So let us move onward towards the panel discussion. Our first panelist is Mr. Anand Jagtap. He is a PhD scholar of Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Expertise in stakeholder management, leadership, microfinance, eliciting community engagement, and sanitation and water sector. He worked as an officer on special duty on the slum sanitation program initiated by the World Bank in collaboration with the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai for more than 22 years. He also gives works as a visiting lecturer for various colleges and got awards like Paryavaran Mitra or Sant Gadge Baba Samaj Kalyan Award. We are fortunate to have him on our advisory board. Our second panelist is Mr. Manish Sahu. He is a social development practitioner with over 15 years of experience working in India and other parts of globe. Currently works as Chief Operating Officer at RPG Foundation. Prior to this, he was leading social sector consulting vertical at Tata Strategy. He worked on several assignments related to sanitation and solid waste management. The prominent one is Mission Garima program of Tata Trust. He assessed the need and provided recommendations to MCGM on PPE for sanitation worker and adoption of machine and allied equipment. He was also involved in estimating the sanitation economy in India and its publications. I welcome both of you for this panel discussion. The moderator for this panel discussion will be Mrs. Pradnya Thakur, who is a founder director of Shashwat, having 25 plus years of experience in the field of environment, sanitation, solid waste management, water management, and all. She was one of the members while drafting the policy of Swachh for Maharashtra, for Indian government. Over to you, Pradnya.
Thank you, Aditi. Welcome, Anandji. I think. Hello.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, Anandji, welcome to this panel discussion, and thanks for sparing your time and coming here and joining with us to share your remarkable experience. Basically, we all know that in urban scenario and with Nivedita's presentation that slum is a major challenge, and with respect to COVID that spread due to a lot of issues which Sampada and Nivedita has shared. So working with such situation and especially for sanitation is a real challenge. And as working with you earlier on this slum area is aware that even making toilet block was not easy for them. And now maintaining toilet block and use of community toilet block is again become the transmission of COVID aspect. So I want to ask you that basically we all know and we are all getting from the news the information that Dharavi is a very successful model, and WHO is also recommending that, and really, and we know that you are very much associated with this entire process. So we are very much pleased to welcome you here and want to hear from you that what are those efforts has been taken in Dharavi that are and other slum areas with the structure of CBO to overcome this aspect and this challenge, because really all these clumsy houses, no place. If many people we ask them to lock down and stay home, they don't have even space to stay back to the houses. So in this entire situation, it is a very great challenge. So how has been tackled? So please.
Okay, thank you, Pradnya Madam, for inviting me for this session. Let me tell you right now what we are doing in Dharavi. Dharavi has been considered one of the success story in preventing corona COVID-19 infection in the slum areas. And there is a controversy right now of who is going to claim success. So this is the one of the area where everybody want to take the credit. You see, let me clarify. We are working on a preventive aspect. We are not part of the curative program because doctors and medical experts are working on the treatment part of it. Where we are trying to concentrate with the CBO's involvement, we are trying to look at preventive aspect. Particularly, as everybody know, Dharavi spread in around 613 hectares land. This reach out Dharavi is very geographically is very challenging. Second aspect of the concentration of the population, density of the population, the 3.6 lakhs square kilometer population is existing. That is the density of the population. So when the infection was started, COVID-19 was started, it was one of the major worry for everyone because if the Dharavi gets infected, so the condition of Mumbai is going to be very critical because of the density of the population. Let us understand the location of Dharavi. Dharavi is right in the middle of Mumbai, which is like you can see that the Dadar is very close from Dharavi. We can one side Bandra is very close. Then you can come to the side. So strategically, Dharavi located in very central place where the infection could have spread all over Mumbai. Like no Mumbai, any corner of Mumbai would have not left. So this is another geographical characteristic of the Mumbai Dharavi. Now, what is happening? This medical team, that a medical expert working on the preventive aspect, curative aspect. So we thought that we should not get into that aspect. Rather than we should concentrate on a preventive aspect. Right now, there is no vaccine for. Hello, there is no vaccine for the COVID-19. Only vaccine is maintaining social distance. That is the first part of. Second part is providing sort of washing the hands. That is another important. Wearing the mask. Wearing the mask, maintaining social distance, and these are some of the vaccines at right now for the COVID. So in Dharavi, we decided to work on this aspect. So strategically we decided to work out the community toilet. As everybody knows, that is in a slum area, the people depend very heavily on the community toilets because individual toilets are not possible in the slum area because of various reasons. I don't want to go into that detail, but let us face it. All the Dharavi, all people, all population is dependent upon the community toilet. So use of the community toilet is very high in number. I think around 90% people are dependent upon the community toilet. So when this central team of Government of India visited Dharavi, they came to know that community toilets are going to be one of the center for infection, and we also decided to concentrate on the community toilets. So what is a community toilet? You see, we have the system in Mumbai. We are not constructing the toilet in the program. It is a slum sanitation program. The construction of toilet block is not of emphasis. Rather than we are going into the software activities. Hardware is an engineering component, and software is a activities where we are building up the capacity of the community. So we decided to, because already some toilet blocks are there constructed, but the use of the toilet block is very challenging. As a part of social distancing, so it was very so we enrolled CBOs to maintain the social distance. We have put the marking on the floor. That is, the people will stand in a particular place, and while coming, they will use the mask. While entering to the toilet block, some SOP were prepared. So we developed the SOP for 3 groups. One is people, that is the users of the toilet block. So they need to follow certain protocol of while entering into the community toilet block. Second part was that is the person who is cleaning the toilet block. So that was also extremely important component because the person who's cleaning the community toilet block that needs to be sensitized and needs to be made aware about the challenges of the cleanliness in slum area. Third part was, of course, the CBOs members who are volunteers and the local people. They are not contractors, but they are rather representatives of the communities, and they know their communities best. So CBOs members, caretaker, and third part was the community themselves. These are three stakeholders we are identify while working in the community toilet blocks. So these three people, we given the emphasis because as we know that is the policy level. So this in Mumbai, municipal administration made the rule that is during the time of COVID, CBO should not raise the money and they should not charge the people. Our system was very self-sufficient. We were collecting the charges, user charges on monthly basis from the slum dwellers, and the CBO was maintaining their daily expenses from these charges. These charges are not commercial, rather affordable sanitation. We call it is a free versus affordable sanitation. So our slogan is work on the affordable sanitation rather than free sanitation. We don't believe on the free sanitation because there is no free meal in economy. So that was a concept of the World Bank, and through that we started working on this. But due to the decision of the policy decision, CBO could not get the money from the users. So we had the challenges of maintaining the cleanliness. So during this time, with the help of UNICEF, I just wanted to mention about this project called Flush the Virus. So UNICEF office of Mumbai, then we have the CBO, Triratna Prera Mandal is one of the CBO implementing partner, and CACR, another one organization. The three organizations came together and they decided to work on this project called Flush the Virus. And the Flush the Virus project is going on right now in three hotspots of the Mumbai. That is the Dharavi is one place. Then second is the Chembur, the Shivajinagar area, and third is Santa Cruz. So we are identifying 150 community toilet blocks, and we are developing a typical intervention because you are all aware that is we are facing the corona first time. So a lot of things has to be changed. Our daily routine of the cleaning needs to be changed into looking into the challenges of the coronavirus. So what we had done, we are giving the reorientation to the CBOs in terms of how to maintain the community toilet in their respective area. So we are giving the training to them. Some supply is also given to them, and at the same time we are constantly monitoring whether whatever we has been taught to CBO is actually implemented at the grassroots level. So we are having a very participatory review mechanism in terms of whether this whatever has been taught into classrooms and training programs is actually implemented at the grassroots level. So we are having the volunteers. Volunteers goes to the areas. They visit the community toilet blocks. They interact with the people, and they interact with the different people to understand whether they observe whether washing the hand is being practiced properly or not. So to avoid the public touch to the various locations and various equipments, what we have done, we have developed the hand washing stations, which is a pedal operated. Then we have provided the face shield to the community caretakers. We are giving the gloves, masks, and other safety equipments to our workers. And even let me point out, the people who are visiting in the slum area, they call coordinators, who are interacting with the community. They have been provided PPE kits. The PPE kits are also given to this is a disposable PPE kit has been given to the people, and they are going in the slum areas, and through the megaphone, they are giving the messages to the community in terms of the three specific messages: importance of social distance. Third is washing hands, that is the hand hygiene, and third is what we are saying, that is wearing the mask. That is the three messages has been constantly given to the community people through the megaphones. So with these kinds of the practices, we are reaching out to the slum dwellers and trying to pass on messages to them. And at the same time, people have been monitored regularly. Even when they are entering the community toilet, they are washing their hands. They are not touching the taps and other important things, doors. Then doors are frequently disinfected. Many places, wherever the human touch is coming, the community caretaker, she is like a disinfecting those locations with a spray of machine. Then we are also provided back spray machines where the disinfection is being constantly taken place at the community toilet blocks. 3 times we are cleaning the toilet. That is, I'm just specifically mentioning because immediate question, how many times you can clean the toilets? So deep cleaning is done three times in a day. At the same time, a spray is also used for disinfecting the community toilets, and people have been constantly educated by telling them the importance of the hand hygiene, social distance, and wearing the mask, along with a strong supply of material to the community toilet block. That has been one of the model to tackle the infection and prevention of COVID-19 in the slum area. So I will stop here. If you have any specific questions, we can go for that.
Thank you, Anandji, for very informative. It's really very important and information you have shared with us. Basically, I think calamity is always opportunity, and this is also an opportunity to make some changes in our lifestyle, which we all are learning by COVID. But how and which opportunity, I think, in a policy intervention from this learning need to be there to avoid such situation in future. So this is one of my question. And also I remember that you informed one example that Gandha Ved is one machine, because Sampada has presented indoor air quality, and which is very important in the toilet block in community. So now it's also time for going to with the technology, because we all are now conducting these conferences or webinar not on physical presence but on this, and this is we are also learning these technologies. So it is a time to go with technology. So monitoring of cleanliness, as this become very important aspect. I remember that when Shashwat was conducting this hand washing program in school, even by a few education experts, it was said that what is this activity with game? Why this hand washing is so important? But now entire world is doing this hand washing, and it has brought very important aspect. And I think hand washing is in our culture itself also. But basically with this, because there is water scarcity in this area, so how this hand washing is carrying out, and second, how what measures now to be incorporated in the policy level for maintaining the toilet block. So that is another question.
Thank you for asking very specific question. I had just missed out that part. You see, it is very, very important to induce or to use the technology for reaching out to the people. So in our experience, wherever we are having the monitoring and interaction with the CBOs, we are having the Zoom meeting. I am interacting with all our CBOs, 150 CBOs through Zoom conferences, and slum dwellers are using the Zoom in a very successful manner. If people sometimes may be having doubt about whether they will use or not, they using their mobile phone for monitoring their community toilets cleanliness. They're sharing the photographs with us, the photographs with the date and time. So that is also another kind of use. We are using the technology to monitor the cleanliness at a grassroots level. This is a use of the Facebook, WhatsApp groups. Then we are having the Zoom, use of the Zoom. These are the technologies. At some places, we have the surveillance camera. Surveillance camera is also installed at the community toilet block, which is outside. It is not inside. Let me, because of the privacy and issue, dignity issue, we are not installed the cameras inside. But outside cameras are there. All the activities are being monitored through the camera, surveillance camera. So some of the CBO has been installing this kind of technology in their community toilet blocks, and they are using to share the information with each other. It is like a snowball effect. One CBO is sharing the good practices with other CBO. So CBOs also having exchange in between. They're visiting not directly in their areas, but they're showing that is what is a hand washing station, which is a pedal operated. The picture and entire video clip is being shared with each other. So this is also use of the technology we are doing to reach out to each other, and that has been very, very effective. Let me tell you, this is the latest experience which I am experiencing very other side of the community. When we say that is when the crises are there, so new things have been practiced by the community. This is my experience, one experience. As you know, that is another issue. I will come to the policy matter issues later on. Before that, I would like to tell you, this is cleanliness is very subjective matter, because it is it is a perception of individual. What I feel is a clean may not be other person may not feel is a clean. So subjectivity is very, very important. When it comes to the slum dwellers, many people have that is called urban biases. Urban biases in terms of we believe that is slum dwellers are dirty. These people are not having the manners. These people are not having civic sense. So these are popular perceptions about the poor in the slum area. But my experience is there with these people, slum dwellers, when we have been trained and when informed properly, they can do best for themselves. So self-help is the best help. Rather than just we are giving the sermons to them, let them involve into the implementation. Let them create the sense of ownership about this community toilet block is not constructed by the BMC. It is not government property. It is their property. It is their business. It is their business. So creating the sense of ownership towards the cleanliness program is very, very important and extremely strategic issue, according to me. So we are handed over these community toilet blocks to local CBOs, users group, and they look after the community toilet in their respective area. And what administration does the monitoring of these activities. So this is the one aspect of that. Second aspect in the community toilet blocks. So when we are talking about this cleanliness issue, so cleanliness requires to be mechanized in terms of use of the technology, non-biased technology, because human beings can be biased. So I just talking about the urban bias. Urban bias is one of kind of the perception. It is a biased perception about poor. So in that context, I believe that there are some new technology. Sensor has been developed. The equipment is called Gandhaved. Gandhaved is like an equipment which takes measures the order in the community toilet. So if it is there is no order, the green signal is given by that devices. And then if there is a moderate smell is there, yellow picture is given. It is a design for the people who are slum dwellers. They can easily understand what is the status of their community toilet. So these 14 such Gandhaved we are installing the community toilet, and that will link with the mobile. So the CBO members, that is the leader, community leader who is looking after the community toilet block responsibility, that he gets the information. The caretaker gets the information, and BMC officers get the information on that. And even ordinary people can can check the status of the cleanliness on the mobile. And in mobile, if you go, then location is there. GPS on GPS, you can locate the toilet block. You can see the map how can reach the toilet, and the status is also given about the toilet in terms of its cleanliness. If it is clean, there is no order. It is a green signal. If there is dirtiness or smell is there, a red signal is there. And we can monitor this aspect with the help of the CBOs to take the appropriate measures to reduce the smell and the uncleanliness of the toilet. So this is another kind of use of the technology. Since our first session was on indoor air pollution, so this is a pollution at public places. How we have the smoke detector. In a smoke detectors, we can prevent the smoking. Similarly, this kind of devices can be very useful to monitor the cleanliness at a community level. So this is one example. Even this idea we came to know in foreign countries, because if the drug addicts come in the area and they start inhaling the drugs, that message can go to the security people. So similarly, on the same line, we are using the same kind of sensor to detect the pollution or odor in the community toilet, which helps to decide the cleanliness standard of the community toilet block. So use of this kind of technology is very much in a practice, and we have started using this technology for monitoring the community toilet blocks. Along with that, we also need to use the system like a transparency and accountability, like people who pay the money for the toilet, how many people are coming. Community people can give the feedback on the machine, because there is a feedback machine is there. If the uncleanliness is there in the community toilet block, they can push the red button. If the satisfaction is there, if the condition is very good, then they can put the green button. So all these things can be used as a part of technology to monitor community sanitation And I think our country requires, because sanitation is not means only construction of community toilet blocks, but rather is more than this. But let me sum up with our system. हमारे सिस्टम है, हमारी सिस्टम घोड़ा देती है लेकिन घोड़े का नाल नहीं देती है. जो software exactly works like a horseshoe, and horseshoe is very important if you have the horse. If the horse without horseshoe will not give the deliverables and it will not give the appropriate results. So use of the technology, use of the software activities are extremely important to maintain the cleanliness. Without this, sanitation program cannot be success. And if there is any claim, that claim I will doubt about that claim. So my experience with this community, working with the community, it is a behavioral change more, because sanitation is nothing but to change or influence the behavior of the people. And this is a very good combination, and this is a lot of learning opportunities, because when we are talking about the hand washing earlier, like a oral root infection due to diarrhea and other waterborne diseases, people have not taken seriously. But in eve of spread of the COVID-19, people are understanding the importance of what we are taught to them in terms of the wash hygiene and hand hygiene. And now people are realizing the importance, and whatever we were doing, it is getting intensified with a new approach and new learning. I think we are learning from the practices. I think there is no kind of blueprint about activities, because Corona is the first kind of incidents everywhere. So all international agencies like UNICEF, WHO, and many other agencies who are actively participating globally, they are sharing their information with each other, and we are learning from each other. So let me share my whatever I learned from my experiences in through the CBOs. I am humbly sharing with you. I'm not saying that is because of our activities we have been able to prevent the Corona. But let me tell you, because there is our contribution definitely there in a preventive aspect. Curative aspect has been looked after by, it is a teamwork. It is a basically a multidisciplinary approach. That's why we have been able to make some result. That is my humble submission. Thank you. Over.
Thank you very much, Anandji, for this information. And I think one takeaway from this is that, yes, there are changes need to be adopted considering situation. The preventive measures is a need. Awareness, I see that software part is also a very important factor, and intervention of ICT that also need to be in line with our policy related to sanitation, especially in slum area, because see, the people from this area are also going to our houses for home cleanliness and all everything, and that spread is again reaching there. Right now they are also facing challenges, and the community who takes the services also facing challenges for non-availability of these people from weaker sector. So basically this is very important step, and thank you very much for all your valuable input. There are few questions to you from all the participants, but I think let's move on to Mr. Manish Sahu. Aditi has given an introduction. Welcome Manish ji for this panel discussion, and basically with Manish ji working with Garima project with Tata Strategy, that was a very important factor. Like we have all the warriors in COVID situation, and one of the warrior of this entire situation is sanitation worker, and health safety aspect of this warrior is utmost important, and which was since long time which is very neglected topic. So I will request you, Manish ji, to share with you that what need to be done for the safety of these warriors in sanitation and solid waste management. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Pradnya ji, and very good evening to everyone. So suddenly, due to COVID, we all, like all the public, they have got an awareness on the personal protection equipments. People are demanding for masks. They know the difference between FFP1, FFP2 mask, then mask with valve, then gloves, all those kind of a thing. But before that, there was limited understanding among the community on the protective gears, and also among the sanitation workers. So definitely, as Anand ji has mentioned, and also we have seen in the previous slides, we have a lot of infra and tools and equipments which is there present in a community and which help us to maintain the hygiene and sanitation. But also it is equally very important to understand and to acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of the sanitation workers. Yeah, so sanitation workers are and also we have seen in the social media that the efforts of frontline functionaries, workers, sanitation workers, they are much appreciated. People are pouring flowers over them, and so yeah, definitely we should appreciate the work of the sanitation workers. So uh, during COVID and also post COVID and before COVID, very much the protection of sanitation workers has been a major kind of a issue, and various agencies are working towards it, and also MCGM as a part of their program, they are working towards it. So a rapid assessment study was conducted in the year 2018, and that time was a part of Tata Strategic, and this assessment study was conducted as part of Mission Garima, Tata Trust Mission Garima project. And so I am sharing briefly a few findings of the study. And definitely there was issues that was identified at that time, and I'm sure that a lot of issues might have been resolved in this year. So typically, for those who are not acquainted very much to the sanitation workers portfolio in Mumbai, so typically here we have got broadly 4 categories of workers. One, we call it as scavengers, who are the sweepers who sweeps the road. Second category is halalpur, and these are the toilet cleaners who clean toilet blocks. And then we have got the motor loader. Motor loader moves with a vehicle which picks up our waste. And then the 4th category is the sewage and stormwater drain workers. So typically these were the workers we covered during our rapid assessment study. And if I'm saying about personal protection equipment, so typically these consist of helmet, protective gears, mask, then eye protections, gloves, which helps anyone to be protected. And if I'm talking about machine and allied equipment, these are those tools and machines which brings in efficiency and effectiveness, and also helps in reducing the drudgery among the user. So that time in the study, we found out that there was many health and PP related issues that was faced by the workers when we interacted with them in several wards. So definitely these workers are exposed to pollution, harmful gases, and hence they require a mask, a proper mask that could help them to save from the pollutants. Also, while they are cleaning some house gullies or narrow lanes, people throw garbage out of the window. So definitely there's a requirement of helmet also. And many workers we interacted, they were not using personal protection equipment, either due to like the equipment was not appropriate. It was very discomfort to have that personal protection equipment, and also they were not aware about the benefit and the use and maintenance of it. With respect to machines and allied equipment, as I have said, the tools which helps reduce drudgery among the workers and also helps in building effectiveness and efficiency in the work. So they mentioned that fine, we have got bins and brooms, but these were they break quite often, and also road cleaning in slum areas were very difficult, and sweeping under parked cars was a major issue. So these were the issues that we find among the sweepers. So I'll be just taking you all through the issues that was identified among the various categories of sanitation workers, and then I'll be getting into the personal protection, the solutions that were recommended, and also going forward, what is the recommendation with respect to protection of the sanitation workers, and also what any municipal corporation or agency could consider while going for a machine and allied procurement of machines and allied equipment. So with respect to toilet cleaners, and as Anandji had mentioned, that community toilet blocks, these are very critical during the time of COVID, and there is a SOP with respect to its use. But also it is very equally important that the workers who are cleaning the sanitation toilet blocks, they should be protected, and they should have proper machines and tools. Definitely we have got, MCGM has got procured a lot of tools and they are using it. So with respect to toilet cleaners, the kind of disinfectant or the chemicals that they were using and the mask that they were using at that time was not tiling. The mask was not proper, and it was not protecting the workers. Also, the gloves that they were wearing, so gloves, it was like very sweaty. Their hands used to become very sweaty while they were using the gloves. With respect to machines, so typically no particular machines they were using. They were using jhadu and a bucket just to clean the toilets. And also there were other issues like clogging of the holes in the toilets. The motor loaders, again, if you could see that a person is loading a garbage bin into the truck, and the person has to be very strong in loading the garbage bin, because the person had to like raise the bin from the ground at least for like few maybe half feet. So that's a kind of drudgery. And when women loaded the bins, then really they had to strive a lot. And also you might see that the motor loaders, they are wearing chappals. So, and they pick waste. As we know, in a country, the waste is a very poor quality, not segregated. The waste would have harmful chemical kind of substances, then blades and all those kind of a thing. But then also these people were not wearing shoes. It was not that the shoes were not available, but the shoes were not very appropriate. It was not very comfortable for them to wear the shoes and walk with the truck for maybe a kilometer or so. So these were the issues that we identified. Also with respect to the people who are cleaning the drains and who are involved in sewage operations. So they were exposed to carbon monoxide and other gases. And also, so they were, you might see in the picture that they were working with a barren hand. And it was, yeah. So these were the issues that we find during that time. And as a solutions, indicative solutions to MCGM, definitely we provided an entire list of solutions across various categories of workers. But an indicative solutions, I would like to present to you all that definitely any person, any sanitation workers who's involved in manual cleaning should have better PPE. Better PPE, if I'm saying better protective gears, I'm saying then it consists that the protective gear should be comfortable, appropriate, of better quality, and yeah, and so it should also be cost effective. And definitely the workers, they should be sensitized. It's not that they should be made aware that this is the protective gear that you should be wearing, but also sensitization is very important, that how you should wear the mask or protective gears and how you could maintain and dispose it. Currently in the COVID situation, we also see that people are wearing masks, but they are not wearing it, many of them not wearing it properly. And the disposal part, how the people are disposing masks, that's a big question. Still, it is not addressed. So, and also we were able to identify a lot of good machines that would help reduce the drudgery and bring effectiveness and efficiency in the work that sanitation workers are doing. And currently in Mumbai, we are seeing that this kind of glutton machine, sanitation workers walks with a machine, and that machine picks up waste. So these kind of machines are required to make life of sanitation workers more comfortable, and definitely he or she will have a sense of dignity while working with this kind of machines, and definitely effectiveness and efficiency is there on the work, and hence productivity. So coming to the key recommendations for protective gears. So I have put up the recommendations into two buckets. One is the safety at workplace, that how a sanitation workers could ensure safety at workplace. First step is that the workers should acknowledge and understand that what are the risks at workplace. Typically, this is a gap that the workers do not understand, and they don't acknowledge that there is a risk at a workplace. It's like that, okay, fine, it's going on since years, it will go in that way. And chalta wala hisab hai. So a worker should acknowledge, understand the risk, and then demand for the protection. The demand part is not very aggressive. Also, the workers and the authorities should have a proper knowledge about safety measures, how the protective gear should be used, how it should be maintained, and then how it should be disposed of. Then the last point is that definitely one should have access to proper protective gears Yeah. And while we were doing study, and then we also identified a lot of protective gears. We went across the country. We spoke with a lot of vendors, and then we had a long options of protective gears across all, like masks, gloves, helmets, everything. And then after we shortlisted the protective gears, this is like typically 3 parameters: ease of function, safety and quality of the equipment, and the cost part of it. And then we generated our options of protective gears, and the options were displayed and exhibited to the authorities and the workers representative in Mumbai itself. And there all the protective gears were displayed. The workers representative came, they assessed all the equipments. Also the municipal officials, including the safety officer, were there to assess the various equipments, and basis on that the final selection of protective gears were done. So as a recommendation, it is very important that choose of protective gears shouldn't be done in a centralized way, but it should be an annual process typically, wherein consultation with the workers is very essential, and also understanding the ground reality is very essential while selection of protective gears are done. With respect to machines and allied equipment, as I mentioned, the purpose of machine and allied equipment shouldn't be replacement of workers. No, it should be amalgamation of man and machine, both complementing each other work and not replacing. The purpose of machines, as I have said, it is ease of operation, reducing drudgery, bringing efficiency, effectiveness, and productivity, and also reduction in the cost of the overall operation. So that should be the purpose of having a machines and allied equipment. Definitely, it's an indicative list. There could be more points added to it. And while we are selecting machines, then feasibility of adoption and its maintenance should be considered, because the condition in Mumbai would be totally different from condition in Delhi or any smaller part of the country. So that part has to be considered, that how feasible it would be to adopt any machines and its maintenance. Then cost benefit analysis, and I had said that amalgamation of man and machine, how both could complement. So these are the few indicative points while one is selecting a machine. So with this, I would like to end my presentation, and definitely if there is any question, then I'll be happy to take that.
Thank you, Manishji, for a very nice and informative presentation, and with all these recommendations. Basically, the PPP word which we were not aware, and now the country is aware, almost all, that what is mean by PPP. So this terminology was not so common earlier. So basically, that these are all the changes and opportunity to improve, because I think this study has been done 2 years back, and with this COVID, now the things are come up that we should learn all these aspects, and we should take it very seriously. Basically, one question is that what you suggest means whatever you have presented, from that we learn that the IC consultative process with community safety, health, hygiene are major aspects to be taken care by the workers, because if they exist, then our life is exist, because they do the cleanliness part of our cities. So they should be recommended and greeted very well. So that is one takeaway from this all entire presentation. But what you suggest, what changes the urban local bodies need to do in this process after COVID aspect, and from all these solutions and recommendations?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Pratnya ji, that definitely this COVID, definitely it is it's a pandemic, but with this, it has brought up and opened up a lot of opportunity. Fine. Now people are very much aware about the use of protective gears. So while we were doing this study, and then we interacted with the sanitation workers, authorities, so they were not very sensitive. It's like, I won't say that few of them were not sensitive about the use of and then what is the utility, especially the workers. But now I'm very sure that after the COVID, people are very sensitive with respect to use of protective gears. And yeah, going forward, my recommendations, definitely I presented the recommendations for the urban local bodies, but it is very essential to do a annual kind of a exercise wherein there is an interaction that is done with the workers and the workers representative with respect to their working conditions. So working condition, it's not only safety at workplace, but also dignity, physical and mental well-being, and social protection. Because sanitation workers, if you see, the permanent workers, they are having a social protection measure, but the temporary workers or workers are even called as volunteer. They don't have access to social protection. So a complete package of facilities should be provided to sanitation workers, because these are the warriors which are saving us. So that is my strong recommendation to the ULBs going forward.
Yeah, thank you,
This was
Manish. Yes.
this was a very good presentation, and the one thing that most definitely is needed is skills training in how to use protective gear properly. So it's all very well to hand out personal protective equipment, but quite often studies have shown that people who are just given protective equipment are not trained in how to use it. And for instance, when should they change the mask? How long should they keep one mask? They tend to think that they can clean the mask, whereas most of the masks are disposable. So skills training in the use of personal protective equipment is vital. And I think that if we can put our heads together, we can draw up some really good short courses for skills training particularly for personal protective equipment.
Thank you, Professor Bell. Phil Bell is from Australian Institute and from Australia. And thanks for being here with us. Actually, there is just one. There are many questions come up and remarks and from everyone, but due to time constraint, we cannot take many questions. But for Anandji, just one question. There are combination of 2-3 questions. I'm just making it one question, that wastewater aspect, because in Nivedita's presentation also it is shown that open drains and COVID transmission through wastewater and treatment. So that is post toilet aspect in this scenario. I think during our discussion you shared that this aspect is also taking care now, and there are some measures has been taking on that. So can you please share what measures has been initiated on this aspect?
In terms of policy level, Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai has taken one major decision, and concession in property tax has been offered by the Municipal Corporation in 3 areas. People are going to do the rainwater harvesting is one component where they will get a concession in property tax. Second aspect, segregation of waste. The society which is doing very good segregation at source for the solid waste management, that is the second activities. And third is wastewater treatment, that is taking care of your grey water and black water. So you see, it is in Mumbai or any urban area, management of the grey water and black water is very challenging, because I just wanted to give one example in context of the community toilet, because we are constructing the community toilet. When the community toilet blocks are constructed, so we need to have the proper disposal arrangement. So there are only like 2 methods: one on-site sanitation, off-site sanitation. Off-site sanitation basically sewer lines, and sewer lines in Mumbai slum, particularly where this 60% population is staying, they do not have the facilities of sewer line, because slums are not connected with the sewer line. Only exceptional few slums are there which are connected to sewer line, but the rest of the majority slums are not connected with sewer line, and they depend on the septic tanks. As per one of the conservative estimate, 150,000 septic tanks are existing in Mumbai, and due to congestion and due to the various other aspects, our vehicle, that is a seasful vehicle, cannot enter into the slum area to have the frequent, at least minimum twice a year, we need to empty the septic tank, but that activity is being hampered because of the non having the access to crowded slums or congested slums. So septic tank is not being cleaned regularly. That has been creating one of the major threat in terms of COVID-19. Second thing, that is a blast are also taking place some certain places due to the generation of methane gas, and the methane gas has a reason for having the blast in slum areas. So you can see, I know the number of cases where the blasts have taken place and people are injured or died also. So I think I'm just giving the example of one of the waste water, that is a septic tank. Septic tank needs to be attended very regularly, and we are starting now training our community volunteers, CBOs, and caretaker to how to monitor cleaning of the septic tank. So by that way, what is a septic tank in urban area? It will become like a totally storing tank. It is not having that process, that aerobic anaerobic process should take place in the septic tank. That is not happening because that septic tanks are constructing low-lying areas where the water, rainwater is entering to the septic tank. So a lot of number of issues are there. You see, there is in urban infrastructure, there are number of issues, and the number of issues are linked with a technical aspect. And in that area, we are one of our advisor of Shashwat, Mr. Nayan Khambati, here, and whenever we meet both of us, we discuss this aspect. And I'm happy he's here, he's listening to our conversation. So this septic tank cleaning is another one important activities. As per my estimate, 150,000 septic tanks require the daily cleaning, not daily, regular cleaning, and that is one way of taking care of the wastewater. Of course, we have the drains, drains which needs to be frequently cleaned, as Manishji has mentioned. Lot of activities in sweeping and scavenging. So these drains are being cleaned, and many places where the children are using these drains for open defecation. So ideally, our country do not have manual scavenging, but the people who are defecating in the nalas, so that nala is overflowing with excreta, because it may be excreta not of the child or anyone, but at the same time, this drains needs to be cleaned properly, and surface water management in a slum area is a real challenge, because slums are unplanned, not properly designed, and everybody is waiting for the boom, that is the social housing. Everybody will get a free house, and people are waiting for the free house, and rest of the infrastructure issues have been neglected, rather that not addressed properly, unfortunately. So I think wastewater is one of the important activities needs to be intensified, and people are not much, no NGOs working on these issues right now as per my information is concerned, but we need to address this issue in a slum area, because of during the monsoon, and during the particularly now monsoon is approaching to us, already approached, and in this context of COVID-19, so cleaning of the slums in terms of from the holistic point of is really challenged. I'm working with one segment, community toilets. Somebody needs to work on the solid waste management. We think we need to develop a very integrated approach to clean the slum. In a totality, we need to have the very holistic approach to the clean the slum, sanitize the slum, but that is not happening because of the various policy related lapses in the government department, because there are multiple agencies involved in dealing with sanitation related issues. Sewerage department is different, sewerage operation department is different, solid waste management department is different. So there are multiple agencies, and fortunately there is no convergence of these services at a grassroots level. That's why we cannot see the visible change in spite of spending of the public fund in a very large number. We are not able to see the effect. That's why there is a cynicism among the citizens, that they're saying so much money has been spent by the ULB, but there are no visible results. I think one of the major reasons for that, not having the convergence of services at a grassroots level, and to not having the very integrated multidisciplinary approach to look at health and hygiene and public health issues. That is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. I think Yukta Mukhe, we all know her. She is very famous Miss Universe, and she's here. So and she want to leave for certain program, and she is part of our consortium team. So I request Yukta madam to say some words before you leave, please.
नमस्कार.
Namaskar.
I was actually
Oh.
trying to avoid. मला यायचंच नव्हतं पुढे बोलायला.
No, it's you're required.
Yes.
Yeah, please. We
I
know
don't
you are
have
working very
anything to matter. नुसतं मला असं वाटतंय की सगळ्यांनी जबाबदारी घेतली पाहिजे टू प्रॅक्टिस विथ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, की माझ्या घरातून किती हाऊ मच आय कॅन बिकम अ झिरो वेस्ट. And in that I feel major cities planning has to definitely change. So on some level, whether it is policy making or whether it is appealing to the government, that how we can change the sanitization policies and how we can implement them also, because implementation is another big issue. How public can be educated and made aware to be, if that requires to bring for the issues that are coming, especially the health in medical issues are coming because people are not getting clean water, or people are not, means actually even land is getting polluted because of the human sewage. Then I think it is appropriate to say that we can even file a PIL, and we have to ask the government to, the courts to give an order to the PMC, BMC, whatever, any other bodies all across the country, that this has to be now taken up much more seriously. And now, especially in this time of lockdown, nobody can say that they don't have the time to discuss it, or to, it's not important. It is very important. It is a crucial matter. And this affects the quality of our water. This affects the quality of our lives. It affects the health of the children. So as a mother, I feel it's very important to come more collectively. आपण इथे सगळं डिस्कस करतोय, सगळ्यांनी खूप छान छान प्रेझेंटेशन दिलेले, अँड आय एम सो इम्प्रेस्ड अँड आय एम सो हॅपी टू सी द लेवल ऑफ अवेअरनेस अँड evolution is there. Collectively, how we can bring it really on the ground level, not the grassroots, ground level reality, and change the system, change the way. So he माझा मोठा प्रश्न is open to the discussion. Thank you. You're beautiful.
Thank you very much for your input and for your presence, and always you encourage everyone in our team for all these calls, and
Yes.
really great. And we're now as a part of team, and we'll take it how we can do it further. Take it further.
Collectively, yes. Everybody,
Yes.
सगळ्यांनी बोललं पाहिजे and पुढे घेतलं पाहिजे. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah. I think there is just one topic left. The speaker is here, that this lockdown process and entire, as we are all idly in the house and we don't know when we can mobilize, so that creates a lot of stress. So Dr. Pratibha Haran-Khedkar is here to speak about it. So I request she to come forward.
Yes, thank you, Pradnya, for a nice panel discussion. Very informative. Anandji and Manishji has given lots of inputs. As rightly said, all being at home in this lockdown, when people are working, those working people, when sit at home, they start building up the pressure or the stress, and therefore stress management is one more aspect which COVID-19 poses us to think of. We have with us Dr. Pratibha Haran-Khedkar, who is also a chairman of Shashwat Eco Solution Foundation. She is MA and PhD in Marathi and Marathi literature. She also has MA in clinical psychology, participating psychologist and hypnotherapist for last more than 10 years. I would like her to give some inputs at least for the participants to control their stress or on stress management. Yes, madam. Haran-Khedkar, madam.
Yes, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks, Aditi, for nice introduction. Actually, I have decided to speak in English, though my English communication is not so powerful. But Shashwat is running all their activities from Maharashtra, and it was decided that at least one person could speak in English, speak in Marathi. So I prefer to speak in Marathi. नमस्कार. गेले माझा आजचा विषय आहे स्ट्रेस मॅनेजमेंट. ड्यू टू पॅन्डेमिक सगळीकडे ज्या घटना घडता आहेत, जे काही आपल्या आजूबाजूला घडता आहे, त्याच्यातनं स्ट्रेस खूप निर्माण होतोय, आपल्याला फेस करावा लागतो आहे. गेले 4 महिने आपण या स्ट्रेस मधनं जात आहोत. मग प्रश्न असा उमटतो की काय आहे स्ट्रेस, व्हॉट इज स्ट्रेस? इन सिम्पल टर्म्स, इमोशनल अँड फिजिकल टेन्शन इज स्ट्रेस. जेव्हा माणसाला इमोशनली आणि फिजिकली काही टेन्शन येतं त्यावेळेला स्ट्रेस निर्माण होतो. इट कुड बी गुड ऑर बॅड ऑर गुड. गुड ज्या वेळेला असतो त्यावेळेला आपण काहीतरी चॅलेंजिंग अचीव करायला बघतो, पण जेव्हा बॅड स्ट्रेस असतो त्यावेळेला मात्र आपल्याला त्याच्या वाईट परिणामांना सामोरं जावं लागतं. गेल्या 4 महिन्यात हा स्ट्रेस खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात का बरं आलेला आहे? तर आपण बघतोय की गेल्या 4 महिन्यापासून कोविड पॅन्डेमिक आपण अनुभवतो आहोत आणि त्याच्यामधनं ज्या ज्या आजूबाजूला निगेटिव्ह गोष्टी घडत आहेत त्याच्यामुळे प्रत्येक जण या स्ट्रेस मधनं जातो आहे. काय कारण असतील हा स्ट्रेस निर्माण होण्याची? तर पहिलं कारण म्हणजे निगेटिव्ह न्यूज. आपण वर्तमानपत्रातनं, टीव्हीवरनं ज्या निगेटिव्ह न्यूज ऐकतो आहे, बघतो आहेत, त्याच्यातनं खूप मोठा स्ट्रेस निर्माण होतो आहे आणि आपण या निगेटिव्ह न्यूज कडे जास्त आकर्षित होतो. पण तिथे किती पेशंट्स पॉझिटिव्ह झाले किंवा किती डेथ झाल्या असे जे न्यूज येत आहेत त्या न्यूज मधनं खूप मोठा स्ट्रेस निर्माण होतोय. ऍक्च्युली याच्याबरोबर अशाही बातम्या येत आहेत की किती पॉझिटिव्ह लोक याच्यातनं बरे होऊन बाहेर पडलेले आहेत. आपण ऐकतो की 90 वर्षाच्या आजी किंवा 93 इयर्स ओल्ड आजोबा याच्यातनं बाहेर पडलेले आहेत. पण पॉझिटिव्ह गोष्टींकडे हे माणसाचं आपण हे म्हणूया की पॉझिटिव्ह गोष्टींकडे फार कमी लक्ष जातं आणि निगेटिव्ह गोष्टींकडे तो लगेच अट्रॅक्ट होतो. तर आपण असं नाही केलं पाहिजे. या निगेटिव्ह न्यूज कडे दुर्लक्ष केलं पाहिजे आणि त्याच्यातून ज्या पॉझिटिव्ह त्याच्याबरोबर न्यूज येत आहेत त्याच्याकडे आपण लक्ष दिलं पाहिजे. जे निगेटिव्ह ज्या बातम्या आहेत त्याच्यामध्ये आपण असं बघतो आहोत की याला कोण बळी पडतं आहे साधारणतः या व्हायरसला. तर अबाऊ 60 जे सिनियर पर्सन्स आहेत ज्यांना काहीतरी डिसीज आहे पहिल्यापासून, लाईक हायपरटेन्शन और डायबिटीज किंवा कॅन्सर असे जे आजार ज्यांना आधीपासून आहेत आणि ऑलरेडी ज्यांची इम्युनिटी कमी झालेली आहे असे लोक याला बळी पडतायत. पण आपण बघतोय की खूप सारे पेशंट्स बरे होतात आणि बाहेर पडतात. ते आपण त्याच्याकडे बघितलं पाहिजे. आपल्या घरात जे सिनियर पर्सन्स आहेत आणि आपली किड्स, आपली मुलं, ह्यांच्या हेल्थच्या काळजीमुळे सुद्धा स्ट्रेस निर्माण होतो आहे. घरातले जे सिनियर पर्सन्स आहेत आणि जे किड्स आहेत आता हे सगळे घरात बसून आहेत, त्यांना सुद्धा स्ट्रेस येतोय. कारण सिनियर पर्सन्सला शांतता खूप प्रिय असते आणि मुलं घरी आहेत, सगळेजण घरी आहेत म्हटल्यानंतर आजूबाजूला कोलाहल वाढतो आणि त्याच्यामुळे त्यांनाही स्ट्रेस येतो आणि मुलांना बाहेर खेळायला जाता येत नाहीये, त्यांना मित्रांना भेटता येत नाहीये, याचा स्ट्रेस त्यांना पण आहे. आणि आपल्यासारख्या लोकांना, आपल्या पिढीला सुद्धा आपल्याला बाहेर पडता येत नाही याचा स्ट्रेस आहे. म्हणजे सगळीकडून स्ट्रेस निर्माण झालेला आहे. आणि मी तर म्हणेन की या स्ट्रेस मधनं आपण एक ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी बघितली पाहिजे की आपल्या सगळ्यांना एकत्र घरामध्ये राहायला मिळतं आहे, ही खूप मोठी गुड ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी आहे आपल्या सगळ्यांसाठी आणि आपण सगळ्यांनी ती थोड्याफार प्रमाणात एन्जॉय केली पाहिजे. आपल्याला एवढा वेळ मिळत नाही धावपळीच्या आपल्या कामांमधनं की आपण एकत्र बसू, एकमेकांशी बोलू. तर हा जो संवाद आहे हा सुसंवाद असला पाहिजे. सगळ्यांनी एकत्र बसलं पाहिजे, एकमेकांशी बोललं पाहिजे, एकमेकांचे प्रॉब्लेम्स ऐकून घेतले पाहिजे आणि असा संवाद निर्माण झाला पाहिजे. पण हा संवाद विसंवादाकडे जाणार नाही याच्याकडे मात्र कटाक्षाने लक्ष दिलं गेलं पाहिजे. आपण काय करू शकतो या सिच्युएशन मध्ये? सगळेजण घरी आहेत, तर आपापली कामं आटोपल्यानंतर आपण एकमेकांबरोबर काही गेम्स खेळू शकतो. इंडोर गेम्स आहेत, लाईक प्लेइंग कार्ड, चेस, कॅरम, आणि त्याच्याबरोबर रीडिंग. आपल्या घरामध्ये जी काही पुस्तकं आहेत, जी काही बुक्स आपल्याकडे आहेत, त्यांची एक लिस्ट केली पाहिजे. आणि एज वाईज ज्याला जे आवडेल ते पुस्तक त्यांनी वाचायला घेतलं पाहिजे. आपण मराठीमध्ये म्हणतो की वाचाल तर वाचाल. वाचणं माणसाला समृद्ध करतं, आणि ही खूप चांगली अपॉर्च्युनिटी आपल्याला मिळालेली आहे की आपण भरपूर वाचन या दिवसामध्ये करू शकतो आहोत, आणि आपण ते केलं पाहिजे. आणि घरातल्या लोकांनी त्याच्याकडे लक्ष दिलं पाहिजे की आपली मुलं सुद्धा वाचता आहेत की नाही. याच्याबरोबर मुलांकडून आपण काही बेस्ट आउट ऑफ वेस्ट सुद्धा बनवून घेऊ शकतो. आता आपण बघितलं की शाश्वत सुद्धा असे प्रोग्राम करते आहे. मुलांकडनं शाळांमध्ये जाऊन बेस्ट आउट ऑफ वेस्ट करून घेत आहेत. तर असे काही प्रोग्राम सुद्धा आपल्याला राबवता येतील घरामध्ये मुलांकडनं. मग अशा वस्तू आपण शोभेसाठी ठेवू शकतो, अशा वस्तू आपण कोणाला तरी गिफ्ट देऊ शकतो, अशा वस्तूतून आपण अर्निंग मिळवू शकतो. तर काहीतरी ज्याला म्हणतो आपण उत्पादकता, आनंद नाडकर्णी सरांनी खूप छान शब्द त्याच्यासाठी वापरलेला आहे की उत्पादक असं आपण काहीतरी केलं पाहिजे. आनंद घेणं हा सुद्धा शेवटी उत्पादकताच आहे, पण त्याच्यातनं आणखीन काही निर्माण होत आहे, आणखीन काही शिकायला मिळतं आहे आपल्याला, आपले स्किल डेव्हलप करायला मिळत आहेत, तर ते सुद्धा आपण केले पाहिजे. जी म्हातारी माणसं आहेत, जे सिनियर आहेत आपल्या घरातले, तर त्यांचं ऐकून घ्यायला एरवी आपल्याला वेळ नसतो. तर ही एक छान ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी आहे. त्यांच्याशी आपल्याला बोलता येईल, त्यांचे प्रॉब्लेम्स आपल्याला समजावून घेता येईल, सिंपल सोल्युशन्स आपल्याला त्यांना देता येतील, आणि याच्यातनं एक छानसा सुसंवाद घरामध्ये निर्माण होऊ शकतो. आणखीन काय स्ट्रेस निर्माण करत आहे, तर चान्सेस ऑफ लुजिंग जॉब्स और लेस इन्कम ड्युरिंग लॉकडाऊन. काही लोकांचे जॉब जाण्याची शक्यता आहे, काही लोकांना कमी इन्कम मिळतं. आपण बघतो की कंपन्या बऱ्याच ठिकाणी हाफ सॅलरीज देत आहेत मंथली. तुम्हाला महिन्याची फक्त अर्धी सॅलरीच मिळणार आहे. तर ह्या गोष्टी सुद्धा स्ट्रेस निर्माण करू शकतात किंवा करता आहेत. पण मी म्हणेन की आपण काय करता येत नाहीये याच्याकडे न बघता, किंवा काय मिळत नाहीये याच्याकडे न बघता, आहे त्या सिच्युएशन मध्ये आपल्याला काय करता येईल याच्याकडे बघितलं पाहिजे. कुठलीही सिच्युएशन जी आहे ती आधी आपल्याला समजून घ्यावी लागते, मग ती आपल्याला ऍक्सेप्ट करावी लागते, आणि मग आपण ती हँडल करू शकतो. म्हणजे अंडरस्टँड इट, ऍक्सेप्ट इट अँड देन हँडल इट. तर ही सिच्युएशन सुद्धा आपल्याला समजून घेतली पाहिजे, आपल्याला ते हँडल करता आली पाहिजे. आपण जर समजून घेतलं आणि ऍक्सेप्ट केलं तर आपल्याला आपोआप मार्ग सुचतात त्याच्यामधनं की आपण ही कशी फेस करायची जी सिच्युएशन आलेली आहे ती, आणि मग असे पॉझिटिव्ह मार्ग आपल्याला त्याच्यामधनं सुचत जातात. वर्क फ्रॉम होम हा जो आहे तो वर्क फ्रॉम होम ऑल्सो इन्क्रीजेस युअर स्ट्रेस. कारण काय, तर कुठलाही चेंज लाईफ मध्ये आला की तिथे स्ट्रेस निर्माण होतो, आणि इथे तुमचं रुटीन चेंज होत आहे, आणि हे रुटीन चेंज होत असल्यामुळे तिथे स्ट्रेस निर्माण होणं हे खूप साहजिक आहे, आणि त्याच्यामधून सुद्धा स्ट्रेस निर्माण होतोय. पण पुन्हा मी तेच सांगेन की जे स्ट्रेस निर्माण होत आहेत ज्या सिच्युएशन मधनं, त्याच्यातनं आपल्याला काय मार्ग काढता येतात आहे, त्याच्यातनं आपल्याला पॉझिटिव्ह काय घेता येणार आहे याच्याकडे आपण लक्ष दिलं पाहिजे. आता त्याच्याबरोबर आणखीन असे काही गोष्टी आहेत की आपण इन्फेक्टेड होऊ का, आपल्या घरातलं कोणी इन्फेक्टेड होईल का, काही डेथ होतील का, ह्याचा सुद्धा खूप मोठा स्ट्रेस आहे. आणि मी तर म्हणेन की इन्फेक्टेड होऊ का याच्यापेक्षा आपल्याला ऍडमिट व्हावं लागेल हॉस्पिटलमध्ये, अँड देयर इज नो बेड. द सिच्युएशन इज की तिथे बेड मिळत नाहीये ऍडमिट होण्यासाठी. मग आपल्याला तिथे आपल्याला मेडिकल हेल्प कशी मिळेल, तिथे आपल्याला कुठल्या सिच्युएशन मध्ये राहावं लागेल, हा खूप मोठा स्ट्रेस सगळ्यांवर येतो आहे. पण मी म्हणेन की याच्यातनं शेवटी आपली इम्युनिटी आपण कशी वाढवायची हे आपण बघितलं पाहिजे, कारण इम्युनिटी खूप मोठा रोल प्ले करते याच्यामध्ये. आणि आपण बघतो आहोत की ज्यांची इम्युनिटी चांगली आहे, ज्यांची इम्युनिटी डेव्हलप झालेली आहे, असे लोक या पॅन्डेमिकला बळी पडत नाहीयेत. तर ज्यांचं वय बिलो 60 आहे पण ज्यांची इम्युनिटी कमी आहे असे लोक मात्र त्याला बळी पडतायत. आणि त्यामुळे आपल्या आपली जी काही लाईफस्टाईल असेल ती आता चेंज करण्यासाठी आपल्याला एक संधी मिळाली असं आपण समजूया. आणि ज्या बॅड हॅबिट्स आहेत आपल्या त्या सोडून देऊन चांगल्या हॅबिट लावण्याचा आपण प्रयत्न करूयात. चांगल्या हॅबिट्स काय आहेत तर सकाळी लवकर उठणे, एक्सरसाइजेस करणे. जरी तुम्ही जिमला जाऊ शकत नाही आहे ड्यू टू लॉकडाऊन, पण तुम्ही तुमच्या घरामध्येच राहून काही एक्सरसाइज करू शकताय. जसं की रनिंग आहे, 40 to 60 मिनिट्स तुम्ही रनिंग करू शकता तुमच्या बॅकयार्ड मध्ये किंवा टेरेस वरती. यू कॅन क्लाइम्बिंग युअर स्टेअर्स. आपल्या घरामध्ये एखादा तरी जिना असतो वरती जाण्यासाठी, त्या जिन्याच्या पायऱ्या चढणं आणि उतरणं हे एक्सरसाइज आपण करू शकतो. किंवा रनिंग, आपल्या बॅकयार्ड मध्ये रनिंग ते सुद्धा आपण करू शकतो. याबरोबर आणखीन मेडिटेशन, एरोबिक्स, योगा, प्राणायामा असे खूप काही घरात राहून आपल्याला व्यायाम करता येण्यासारखे काही एक्सरसाइजेस आपल्याला करण्यासारखे आहेत. आणि मी म्हणेन की ते आपण आता केले पाहिजेत. त्या सवयी आपण आता सध्या आपल्याला लावून घेतल्या पाहिजे. याच्यातून काय होईल तर आपल्या चांगल्या सवयी आपल्याला लागतील, इम्युनिटी डेव्हलप होईल. आणि इम्युनिटी डेव्हलप झाल्यामुळे पेंडेमिक सारख्या कोरोना व्हायरस सारख्या व्हायरसला आपण बळी पडणार नाही. रिलॅक्सेशन टेक्निक ऑल्सो हेल्पफुल टू रिड्यूस युअर स्ट्रेस. टेक अ शॉर्ट ब्रेक फ्रॉम रेग्युलर वर्क. तुमचं जे काही काम चालू असेल त्याच्यातनं एक थोडासा विश्राम घ्या, थोडीशी विश्रांती करा आणि पुन्हा ते काम सुरू करा. डोंट पे अटेन्शन टू निगेटिव्ह न्यूज. तुम्ही निगेटिव्ह बातम्यांकडे लक्ष देऊ नका, निगेटिव्ह गोष्टींकडे लक्ष देऊ नका. तर ज्या काही पॉझिटिव्ह घटना घडत आहेत या सिच्युएशन मध्ये त्या टॅप करण्याचा प्रयत्न करा, त्यांच्याकडे लक्ष द्या. डू सम डीप ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइजेस फ्रिक्वेंटली. काही ब्रीदिंग एक्सरसाइजेस तुम्ही करू शकता. आणि कनेक्ट विथ द अदर्स. हे खूप मोठी गोष्ट आहे. जोपर्यंत तुम्ही शेअर करू शकत नाही तुमचं काही, तोपर्यंत तुमचा स्ट्रेस रिड्यूस होऊ शकत नाही. कनेक्ट विथ अदर्स. इतरांशी बोला, घरातल्या लोकांशी बोला, तुमचे जे कोणी नियर अँड डिअर्स आहेत त्यांच्याशी तुमचे प्रॉब्लेम्स शेअर करा. आपल्या घरातल्या लोकांशी बोला, संवाद निर्माण करा. कनेक्ट विथ अदर्स खूप काही अचीव्ह करून देईल तुम्हाला, खूप स्ट्रेस रिड्यूस करेल तुमचा. आणि म्हणून आपण ते केलं पाहिजे. टेक ॲडिक्वेट रेस्ट. तुम्ही रेस्ट पण घेतला पाहिजे. 5 ते 6 तासाची जी झोप आहे ही पुरेशी साऊंड स्लीप आपण घेतली पाहिजे, ज्याच्यामुळे आपला स्ट्रेस कमी होऊ शकतो. जेव्हा तुम्ही झोपायला जाता आहात तेव्हा त्याच्यापूर्वी अल्कोहोल, कॅफेन किंवा निकोटीन सारखे जे ड्रग्ज आहेत ते अवॉइड केले पाहिजे. काही स्वच्छतेच्या सवयी लावून घेण्याची गरज आहे. जेव्हा तुम्ही सार्वजनिक ठिकाणी जाता आहात किंवा घरात आहे, घराच्या यार्ड मध्ये आहे, तिथे तुम्ही थुंकू नका, स्पिट करू नका किंवा शिंकरू नका. तुमचं यार्ड, तुमच्या आजूबाजूची सोसायटी तुम्ही स्वच्छ ठेवण्याचा प्रयत्न करा. घर स्वच्छ ठेवण्याचा प्रयत्न करा. तुमची प्रत्येक वस्तू स्वच्छ करण्याचा प्रयत्न करा. आपण बाजारातनं आणलेली प्रत्येक वस्तू ही सॅनिटाईज करून वापरली पाहिजे. आपण आणलेल्या भाज्या स्वच्छ पाण्याने धुतल्या पाहिजे, सॅनिटाईज केल्या पाहिजे, त्याच्यानंतर वापरल्या पाहिजे. ह्या ज्या सवयी आहेत, ज्या पूर्वी आपली कदाचित आजी किंवा आपली कोणीतरी मावशी काकी आपल्याला सांगत होती, त्याच्याकडे थोडंसं दुर्लक्ष मधल्या काळामध्ये झालं होतं. तर ह्या सगळ्या सवयी आता आपण लावून घेतल्या पाहिजेत. किचन पॉझिटिव्ह ही खूप मोठी गोष्ट आहे की तुम्ही पॉझिटिव्ह राहिलं पाहिजे. प्रत्येक गोष्टीतनं पॉझिटिव्हिटी तुम्ही घेतली पाहिजे. लॉ ऑफ अट्रॅक्शन तुम्हाला सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे, यू नो. तुम्ही जसे विचार कराल तसं तुमच्याकडे ते विचार अट्रॅक्ट होणार आहेत. युअर माइंड इज मॅग्नेट. तर तुम्ही चांगले विचार करा, पॉझिटिव्हिटी ठेवा, म्हणजे सगळ्या चांगल्या गोष्टी होतील. अवर माइंड इज मोस्ट पॉवरफुल हिलर ऑफ युअर बॉडी. तुम्हाला जे काही आजार होत असतील छोटे छोटे घरात राहिल्यामुळे किंवा स्ट्रेसमुळे, ते सुद्धा रिड्यूस होतील. टाइम विल चेंज. सम न्यू सोल्युशन्स टू दिस कोविड पेंडेमिक विल कम अँड वी विल विन द वॉर अगेन्स्ट कोविड पेंडेमिक. वादळे येतील वादळ येतील पण तुम्ही भक्कमपणे उभं राहिलं पाहिजे. वादळ येईल आणि जाईल सुद्धा. वादळ महत्वाचं नाहीये, तुम्ही त्याच्याबरोबर कशी झुंज देतात हे खूप महत्वाचं आहे. थँक्यू. स्टे सेफ, स्टे होम.
Thank you, madam, for a very nice session for on stress management.
And sorry to wrap up early because of time.
Okay, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Let us move to the concluding session now. We have with us Dr. Vijay Vadai, PhD in Electronics and Telecommunication. He is principal of D.Y. Patil College of Engineering. Having 32 plus years of experience, his interest areas are healthcare, cognitive radio, smart farming, and VLSI design. He has more than 175 publications, out of which 8 are books. He received various awards and recognition. We are very fortunate to have you with us. I would like you to conclude the session.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Aditi madam. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachitananda Murte Nishprapanchaya
Sir, only request that Saraf sir is also chasing for time. So sincere.
पटकन 2 मिनिटात कन्क्लूड करतोय. सगळ्यांना आनंदाची बातमी देतो की अतिशय कमी वेळात मी पटकन कन्क्लूड करतो. 1 मिनिटाचा वेळ मिळत असेल तर करतो, नाही तर सरासर बोलू द्या, काही हरकत
नाही. प्लीज.
कारण कमी वेळेमध्ये कसं बोलायचं हे सराफ सरांनी मला शिकवलंय.
अरे सर, मला 2 मिनिटं होते, मी माझे तुम्हाला देतो.
ओम नमः शिवाय. सगळ्यांचा अतिशय सुंदर असा आजचा प्रोग्राम झालाय. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट मी कॉंग्रॅच्युलेट अँड appreciate Dr. Rajendra Prasad Saraf sir. Because of him only I am here, and he has organized a very nice session and very important session for our life. Aditi madam have really summarized about the Shashwat activity, and she has included the 2 important personalities, Sampada Kulkarni and Nivedita ma'am, as far as the 2 indoor pollutions and the care need to be taken as far as the solid waste management is concerned. You have invited very important and prominent personality of Anand Jagtap sir, who has made the changes, substantial changes, specifically in Mumbai, which is really a case study for the world, how to actually implement and act for the cause of the humanity and how to save the human life in reality. Anand sir, Jagtap sir, I would like to salute to you, your work and the kind of the planning, execution, governance, monitoring in such a critical scenario and the heavily dense population area, Dharavi. We have to salute your work and the kind of the planning and governance and monitoring and the man-machine interface and the equipment that we have provided. In tune with that, Manish Sahu has also mentioned about what are the care need to be taken for the corona warriors. Actually, ज्यांनी सेवा केलेली आहे त्यांच्याबद्दल त्यांनी काय काळजी घ्यावी याच्यासाठी सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचा रोल प्ले केला आहे तर रतन टाटाने. 500 crores he has given for the sake of the safety and humanity for this kind of the worker. त्यामुळे ते आरपीजी फाउंडेशन जे मनीष साहू यांनी जे सांगितलं, एखादी गोष्ट घडायची असेल तर पैसा आवश्यक आहे, माणुसकीची गरज आहे, माणुसकीसोबत पैशाची गरज आहे. आणि अशा मोठ्या थोर त्यांना संत म्हणतो मी, या देशाचे मॉडर्न संत आहेत रतनजी टाटा. बिकॉज ऑफ हिम ओनली वी कॅन एक्झिक्यूट सच काइंड ऑफ द सर्व्हिस टू द ह्युमॅनिटी. मला माहित आहे आता वेळ जरी नसला तरी प्रतिभा मॅडमला तुम्ही आता वेळ दिला, क्लिनिकल सायकोलॉजी एक्सपर्ट सायकोलॉजी, कारण प्रत्येक क्षणाला आपण मरतो की काय, करोना आपल्या अंगावर येणार की काय होणार माझ्या जीवनाचं, ही प्रत्येक घरामध्ये अशी भीती निर्माण झाली आहे. हाऊ टू टेक आउट दॅट काइंड ऑफ द fearful situation and fear phobia out of this? What are those yoga practices, the pranayama practices, spiritual practices, thinking, law of attraction, law of abundance, law of spirituality, everything she has tried to explain, but because of the time constraint she was not allowed to speak more. But anyway, the session is wonderful. आणि माझ्या सगळ्या all professors and the students of the NSS, they have joined by the command order from the Rajendra Prasad sir. Sir, तुमच्यामुळे आम्ही येऊ शकलो. पुनश्च एकदा मनपूर्वक धन्यवाद. I cannot forget the contribution of Yukta Mukhi ma'am. she has said there should be the will of the government. Government should come forward and give some solution. Otherwise, the policy cannot be implemented. That is the essence of our talk. I have concluded in 1.5 minutes. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity to conclude this function. Pradnya madam, तुम्ही अतिशय सुंदर आपलं moderation केलंय आणि you have controlled the program very nicely. Once again, I have to express my gratitude to you and Saraf sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Saraf sir would like to say something.
नाही,
Yes,
आता
sir.
वेळ संपला.
वेळ संपला. Okay.
होतात thanks जरा conclusion होतात.
Okay.
फक्त
I
एकच मला
request.
सांगायचं होतं, एक मिनिट, मला एकच सांगायचं होतं की अतिशय चांगला कार्यक्रम झाला आणि पुढील कार्यक्रमाची इन्फॉर्मेशन तुम्हाला पुढच्या महिन्यातला जो होईल आपला ऑगस्ट मध्ये तो सगळ्यांना कळवला.
Yes,
प्लीज गो
sure.
अहेड.
I would like to invite Mr. Vilas Kulkarni to give vote of thanks.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. And for this vote of thanks, first, I will thank all participants who are there and without which this program couldn't be having meaning. So all participants, thank you very much. After that, the organizations who involved in all these things, that for Time for Nature, a group, and it is becoming a forum now. So first, Institute of Engineers, Pune chapter, then Marathi Vigyan Parishad, Pune, then Central Water and Power Research Station, then Water Resource Department, Indradhanush, Pune Municipal Corporation, Department of Civil Engineering, Yagad College of Engineering, then D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Yukta Mukhi, who is former Miss World, Earth Friendly Living, then Indian Plumbing Association, EcoSun Foundation, after that Shashwat Eco Solution, who actually really organized all these things, involved completely. Then after that, the speakers and panel, I want to thank them for their good involvement and quality time given here. That is first Dr. Rajendra Saraf, then Sampada Kulkarni, Nivedita Morir. After that, moderator Pradnya Thakur, Mr. Anand Jagtap, Manish Sahu, and Dr. Pratibha Arankedkar. And after that, a good conclusion by Vijay Vadai sir. And thanks to all again. Also thanks to our volunteers, especially technical support. Because of this, we arranged this good Zoom meeting. So everybody who involved in this thing, I want to thank you. And here, again, as told by Saraf sir, that in August, we will meet again and share more all other things with this Time for Nature group. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, over to Aditi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.